Gotta wait for people to come back in. Because they just fucking crashed the live. Hey, I don't know if you were just on the live, but they just crashed the live because I'm speaking truth like always. Fucking out here speaking truth like always. And I'm literally looking at the screen and it just closes for no reason. Just fucking closes. It's just looping on Living in Hell. Hi, Hannah. That's really fucking scary. No, this happens to me every time I go live. I might just stop going live because I need to be saving these videos. I should have been screen recording. Damn it. Of course it crashed, right? Yeah. What the fuck? I hope it saves because that was a lot. So, okay, so what I was getting at with that, guys, is that we're all, all right, let's start screen recording. You're right, I need to start screen recording. Hold on. All right, I'm screen recording now. Yeah, it's not weird, it's by design. The algorithm picked up on what I'm doing, the negativity, the spirits, whatever it is. They don't want people to know the truth. They don't want people to free themselves from the matrix. You oh no. I don't screen record it because I don't have any fucking space between making videos and shit. Alright, so I believe that right now everyone is just living in their own personal hell. But what do you believe? That was the last thing I heard. Oh, yes. I believe that everyone right now is living in their own personal hell and in their own version of hell based on the choices that they have made in their life. So my friend has made the choice to completely give herself to some spirit. I don't know, but her Jesus and my Jesus are not the same Jesus, because her Jesus is really mean, tells her how much he hates her all the time, tells her that she's filthy, makes her make all these sacrifices and then doesn't give her anything that she needs in return. Like I said, she's just in a narcissistic and abusive relationship with her religion, just as we're in a narcissistic and abusive relationship with our government, and that religion was the first form of government. But anyway, so I believe based on people's personal choices, we're each in our own individual hell right now. So my spirits have been working on my crown, and some very nasty parasite came out of my crown. And I was like, ew, what is that? I want it out. And they were like, it's going to take a week. Right before I left for Florida, they're like, it's going to take a week to get this parasite out of your head. It's been in here for 7 months. And you invited it in. And I was like, what? And then I look back on 7 months and I see that that was the exact time that I was sick and that I invited who I believe is Jehovah. I believe the Holy Spirit and Jehovah are the same as the demon Moloch, which my friend Sarah taught me that. I believe I invited it in when I was sick. Because why is it that it's easiest for the weird Bible version of Jesus to reach you when you're at your lowest? Because you're fucking desperate. You're desperate and you're weak. He's not there to help. He's there to take advantage. It's not my Yeshua. It's not the real Jesus. Not the real Joshua. So my belief is that we're each in our own individual version of hell, and that the people who experience that, the people who experience this situation, that was their personal hell. And those who, I think it's very obvious who's been spiritually protected during this situation and who hasn't. Because those who lived to tell the tale are obviously the ones who were protected. So let's talk about what I think happened. So people who fell on the ground and survived, not many people fell on the ground and survived, but those who fell on the ground and survived said that when they fell, their face, so they felt like they were being sucked down. And when they got sucked down, they fell and they hit their face, and when they hit their face on plastic, it was clear plastic, and they could see through the plastic that there was like people underneath them. I think it was a human trafficking thing. I think this was a big human trafficking event, a big sacrificing event, and a big portal. They opened up a portal for evil. So they said that when they fell and they could see through the plastic, they could see people below them. And so I assume that the floor opened up, people got sucked down, and that's how we saw the product of people, like the people getting sucked and pushed and everything like that. I think that's why so many people got injected, because when people get human trafficked, that's what they do. They inject you. Multiple people who have survived, not many people survive, but multiple stories who I've heard of women who have survived the trafficking, they got shot in their arm. They were like going to get in their car, or they were going to do something. Someone just comes out of nowhere, shoots them in the arm. They're passed out for the next day. So I think they sucked as many people as they could down into the undercarriage. And then I think they injected as many people as they could because they didn't get through the security thing, remember? Nobody had to go through security. Kris Jenner's minors are taking your live down. That's what someone said. That's so funny. It was her 66th birthday, apparently, on the day of this ritual. So I also have heard there's a huge shortage of adrenochrome because since all the borders have been closing, human trafficking has been harder, and it's been harder to get your hands on adrenochrome. So I think that this was a big adrenochrome event. I think they terrified, because what do you do when you extract? So adrenochrome is blood straight from the pineal gland, and it's a drug, right? Go watch Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Do your research. It's really scary, but they will terrify you, and then it's more potent. It gets you more high if you extract it like while someone's terrified. So I think they got people prepped with the binaural beats, the death frequencies. I think they got them prepped all day long with the death frequencies. I think they terrified them by having everyone around them being trampled and dying. And then I think they injected people to drug them so that they could traffic them and steal the adrenochrome from their body. So I think that's what the injections going on were. And I think that the floor that opened up also sucked people under for trafficking. I think that there was an eighth of the security because that was the plan the whole time. It was one big sacrifice and one big human trafficking event. And not only that, but they had fucking police officers on horseback. The fuck is that gonna do? It's gonna spook the horse and it's gonna run away. They couldn't even get the medical vehicle in. You can see these really disturbing videos of the medical vehicle trying to get in to the crowd, and it can't, to like save people. You see a video of a girl climbing the fucking I'm getting chills, climbing the man videotaping. She's like, people are dying. Someone's dead. Stop the show. You hear people screaming, stop the show. And that's when he says, no, you know what you signed up for. So I think that was the plan all along. I think that the VIP section was in the center because I think that all the evil people wanted a view of what was going on. And I don't think they thought people would come together to help their fellow man. And I think that's why that woman beat the shit out of the child, because they weren't expecting to have to face what they were doing. Also, why else would a grown woman beat the shit out of a child if she didn't have absolutely no concern for human life? She was one of the rich people who had a bird's eye and center view of everything. And so I think they opened a portal because he's trying to create dystopia, right? The end goal of the entire lockdown is to make it so rules don't apply. So they just made up a bunch of laws, right? They just made up a bunch of laws and mandates. I don't know if y'all remember too, but at the beginning of the pandemic, they were just letting pedophiles out of jail. They were like, no, we don't want them to get coronavirus. We don't want them to get coronavirus. All of this has been a big fucking excuse to bring on the New World Order and to bring hell on earth and to bring in a dystopia. So they've been doing it since the beginning. They've been normalizing just breaking the law. You're breaking the law when you're just letting a pedophile out of jail. I don't care if you're a mayor. I don't care if you're a governor. I don't care if you're a prison guard. You're breaking the fucking law. They've gotten people comfortable in isolation. They want to create this lawless, wild, wild west kind of energy, but more dystopian and more perverted. And I think that this entire ritual opened a portal. And that's why tomorrow we're going to go live and we're going to shift the portal. We're going to change it. I did it at the border. What do you think was going on with the border? It was all fucking trafficking. Why do you think people want safe borders? It's not necessarily even because we don't want people coming in our country. It's because we're tired. Like, the videos I saw of the border, I saw a video of a grown man bawling his eyes out as he took his camera across the edge of the border, and there was hundreds of used condoms, as well as baby toys, baby clothes, and baby blankets. Those are two things that should never be in the same area. Used condoms and children's clothing. So, when everything happened at the border, I went there with Yeshua, and I went there with my friend Karen, astrally of course, and we shifted it. I shifted it with Yeshua, shifted it with my Joshua, my Jesus, the one that's actually unconditionally loving and doesn't hate you. And so that's what we're going to do tomorrow. If you want to join, we're going to shift the portal. We're going to shift it to light because, in my opinion, they opened up a nasty portal. Before this even happened, guys, before I knew anything about this, sicko mode has been stuck in my head for like 3 days. The next song that got stuck in my head after I learned of this was that Lil Nas X song, like Call Me By Your Name. So, like I said in my other video, I'd highly suggest just staying out of crowds right now, but I think that's the next tragedy we might see. It might be surrounding Lil Nas X. But I've still been just hearing sicko mode in my head ever since. And so people who were there say they can't stop hearing that humming frequency. They can't stop hearing his music. They can't stop seeing the dead bodies. So we're going to go over to the portal and we're going to shift it. But that's my belief of what happened there. I just think it was a big sacrificial ritual event and a human trafficking event. Yes. And I guess what I wanted to say about the whole like living in hell thing, I'm just going to plug this in. I'm just going to say about the whole living in hell thing. I want to tell you a story about why I eventually left my church. So I left my church, of course, because they were trying to tell me that I was evil and that I was an instrument for Satan and that I was, you know, the devil and this and that because I read tarot and I heal people. So I was in church one day and I would invite all my spirits. I would invite all my spirit guides and I could see them there with me, and it was prayer. So for prayer, you would come for an hour, and if you felt like praying out loud, you could pray out loud, but if you wanted to just pray in your head, that was fine too. So I went to prayer and I have my head down. Mind you, you guys know. If you know me, you know. I have survived a lot. And a lot of what I've survived is sexual trauma. And that's the thing about this church. That's the thing about churches that are like, Jesus is the only way. They're really manipulative and they feed on codependency, and they especially feed on people who don't necessarily have the best relationships with their fathers or who have an aversion to authority. They try to break you down and they would always tell me that you don't have faith. You have an aversion to authority. You don't want to listen. No, I just don't believe what the fuck you believe. Your end all be all is not my end all be all. Just like my end all be all is not your end all be all. It doesn't matter. I'm not here to tell you. So I was in prayer. I had my head down. And I'm very vulnerable. Like I mentioned, I had almost just died. I'm very vulnerable. And I'm happy to be here. And also, I'm getting hugs for the first time in like a year and a half. Because the people at church would hug me, you know? And like, it's the middle of a pandemic. People aren't hugging. So not only am I starved of affection and human interaction, but I literally just almost died. So, so I'm in prayer. My head's down and my eyes are shut and I'm talking to my guides. And all of a sudden, while I'm healing myself in the planet, this is how I knew my pastor was evil. He comes over while that's how I knew what he's connecting to is evil. Because we weren't connecting to the same spirit, because the Yeshua that I was connecting to was helping me heal the planet. He would not have had my pastor come over to interrupt my healing session. And when he came over, his wife was in the back. He literally, this is me over here, he slides his arm around my shoulder, brings my face to his face, and he whispers in my ear so close that his spit is on my ear. And he goes, "Hey, Nikki, have you given your heart to Jesus Christ?" A chill went up my spine, and I leaned away from him, and I see him looking over his shoulder. He keeps going, looking back at his wife, knowing that what he's doing is wrong. He knew what he was doing was wrong, so he kept looking at his wife. And I said, "I don't know what that means." And I kept trying to pull away, but every time I tried to pull away, he pulled me closer. And then on my knee, pretend this is my knee. He starts going like this. And he starts I say, "Well, I don't know what that means." And he goes, "It all started with Adam and Eve." And then he starts telling me about original sin and the Garden of Eden while he's rubbing my leg. And everyone's eyes are shut. Everyone's praying. Everyone believes this man is there for their good. He's doing this when everyone's eyes are shut, no one's paying attention, and he's looking over his shoulder at his wife, so he knows what he's doing is wrong. I got really messed up from that because I thought that pastor was my friend. I thought he cared about me. And for a long time, not a long time, maybe like a week, I made excuses for the way that he touched me. And then my spirits, my actual father, Yeshua, the actual Jesus, said, "Nikki, let me ask you something." As a father, because you know, Yeshua, the father, source is the father, whatever you believe. He said, "How do you think your dad would feel about the way that pastor, who's your dad's age, was just touching you? How do you think he'd feel about that situation?" And I said, "I think my dad would have punched him in the face if he saw that." And Yeshua said, "That's the only answer that you need." So I remove myself from the church, and I no longer want to be a part of it. And I start separating from my friends. It's been really sad. I've lost a lot of friends because of it, because they're all brainwashed and in the church. Their families, everyone's in the church. And because I refused, they tried to get me baptized and I refused. And they told me that I'm just defiant and that I hate authority and that I need to learn how to trust. There's so many things I could say about that, but I don't even want to get into it. But anyway, so I choose not to be baptized. I choose not to stop reading the tarot. I choose not to throw away pieces of myself that I love because the Holy Spirit says it's evil. So I choose myself over the church, and I lose my friends, and I lose my connection with the church, and that's fine. But anyway, so my friend ends up messaging me. The pastor that touched me like that is messaging me. He's like, "Hey, I really miss you. Come back to church." I'm not answering. And in that church, they all they'd all look at me crazy because I would talk over, like if the pastor was saying something I didn't agree with, I'd be like, no, I don't agree. And then they'd all be like, and someone was actually like, you shouldn't talk when the pastor's talking. Why? It's just annoying because like so many people see my light and appreciate me and think that I'm a smart person with smart stuff to say. So going in there, it was like they just crush your soul. If you're not the pastor, you're wrong. And if I'm not the pastor, I'm wrong, but the pastor is literally groping me in the middle of prayer. I confronted him too. I went back the next week and I said, you made me really uncomfortable and I don't ever want you to touch me like that again. And he was like, I've never gotten this, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, well, you're getting it now. So the pastor texts me and wants me to come back and I ignore him. And then my friend texts me and wants me to come back and I love her. She's my friend since high school. I love her. And I'm like, okay, maybe I'll give it a try just because I love you. You're pregnant. I want to see you, whatever. So right before I was possessed by Jehovah, possessed by the fires of Jehovah, right before I had my near-death experience, I had destroyed a statue in my house that had been holding his energy in it. And then after I destroyed the statue, I found a mouse that had been living under my sink and like pooping on everything. And it was just filth and it was disgusting. And I was like, wow, this filth has been in my house and I didn't even know. And then right after that was when they had cast, so I went to get the hypnosis like I talked about in the first live. I went to get the hypnosis. The woman like cast out that negative energy off of me of Jehovah, the Holy Spirit. She cast him out because I'm not saying it's like Christ, like the Christ consciousness, that's love. I'm saying this demon pretending to be something it's not, was pretending to be something it's not and taking advantage of me for years. And so she cast it out. It came back with vengeance, and that's when it made me sick, almost killed me, and repossessed me. And then I was able to get out by connecting with the real Yeshua, by connecting with true Christ consciousness, by connecting back to source, not blindly following this demon, okay? Not to say all demons are bad. Not all angels are good. You know what I'm saying? It's just a word. It's just words, right? So when that happened, I realized I had filth that had been living under my sink for at least a couple days. There was mouse poop everywhere. It was so disturbing. And also, I've talked about this before, that made me realize poop isn't funny. I don't know why everybody wants to make it like a swirly, cute, like ice cream poop. It's not cute. It's not funny. Poop is fucking filthy. It's toxic and it's disgusting. But anyway, so my friend asks me to come back to church, and I'm like, all right, maybe I'll give it a try again. That night, I go to pull something out of my cabinet. I've been stockpiling food because I thought, I should with everything going on. I think a lot of people have been. And apparently, when you have stockpiled processed food, you can get something called wheat beetles. And they will infect everything. And there's been an outbreak of them in my local grocery stores. Like, I literally had to throw out probably $300 to $400 worth of stored food because these wheat beetles infiltrated them. And it's of my opinion that they actually planted the eggs within the processed food so that this would happen to people because they want people to be helpless. They don't want you to have a food supply during inflation. They don't want you to have a food supply during a food shortage. They want you to be completely helpless and reliant on the government, right? So it's my opinion that that was actually an agenda, and they actually put the eggs of the wheat beetles in these processed foods that store for long periods of time. So eventually the eggs would hatch and destroy what you have saved. And as I opened up that pile of stuff, I accidentally knocked over some of it because it's a pile. I don't mess with it often. It's for just in case. I accidentally knocked it over and I saw there were bugs. So I started to take it apart. And it was a huge infestation. And do you know where they were the worst? They were the worst on I had dehydrated a bunch of oranges that I got for free from the church. They were in the oranges. And I just felt like that was Yeshua. This was the day that my friend asked me to come back to church after he touched me inappropriately. Like, I hadn't been there for a couple months because he touched me inappropriately. I saw that oranges and I immediately thought of the mouse that I found after I cast out that demon the first time. And I saw all the bugs in the oranges and I said, I guess that church is not my answer. Because that was Spirit's way of telling me there's an infestation. It's not what it says it is, right? It's under the surface, because those bugs were under the surface. And literally Spirit was like, you're not going to find what you're looking for there. The only place you're going to find what you're looking for is within. And so that's when I said, I'm never stepping foot back in that church, because that gives this thing permission to continue to fuck with my life. Whatever it is. The Holy Spirit, Moloch, whatever the fuck it is, it's not positive. And it has free reign over this reality. And so the point I'm making with all of this, if you've made it this far, guys, the point I'm making with all of this is don't let this concert was horrific, and it was, like I said, it was stolen symbolism that's usually used for good. It was used for evil. Don't let the symbolism and the evil energy of this event turn you to another form of evil. Just because it's Jesus, just because it's a church, just because it's Christianity, doesn't mean it's righteous. It just means it has a label. Just because it's satanic, just because it's an eyeball, an Illuminati eye, doesn't mean it's evil. You know what I'm saying? The point I'm making with this is don't make any choices out of fear. Don't run to a different form of control. Because remember, like I said in the other live, I said the government is losing its control. People are starting to wake up and question this reality. If they're losing control in the government, their next step is to try and gain control through religion. Right? Because like I said at the beginning, religion was the original form of government. So they're losing control in the government. They're trying to shift people into the control of religion. Okay? So this is just me saying, don't make the same mistake I did. Don't get scared and run from yourself because something evil is connected to the symbols that actually represent you. Don't unintentionally run into the arms of something else evil. A wolf in sheep's clothing. A wolf in sheep's clothing. And now I want to make it very, very clear. I'm not saying all churches are bad. I'm not saying rap music is bad. I'm not saying any of this is good or bad. All of it just is. But I'm saying use your discernment. And don't just make these like rash decisions out of fear like I almost did. Like I almost just like threw away my life and got baptized and gave myself to this demon. I wouldn't be here having this conversation with you, and I wouldn't be having my lives taken down for spitting truth if that was the case, right? So that was my last thought. Don't just run blindly into religion because an event like this scares you and someone tells you that Jesus is going to save your soul if you do this, this, and this. Okay? It could even be a person or group or company, exactly. Cult Central, yes. Is giving medieval times, pandemics, famines, religion, and fools, yes. The minerals they add to water is destroying our kidneys too. Yeah, it's literally salt. My friend Sam did a bunch of research. It's like chemical salt, so that no matter how much you drink, you can never, right? Living in hell. No matter how much you drink, you can never satisfy your thirst. They aren't powerful, but if they convince you they are and you believe it, that's where the power comes from. Somehow, with the absence of love, they're still able to influence people through deceit. Exactly, because, do you want to know why, Jaden? They're not powerful, but if you believe they are, because you're the creator of your own reality, which brings this all back full circle to what I was talking about with Satanism. You're the creator of your own reality. your perceptions rule the way you interact with the world. So when you believe these people have power over you, you consent to giving them power over you, even though they don't have any power. In order for them to have power, they have to do really fucked up things like sacrifice hundreds of thousands of people. You are powerful without having to do any of that because you're connected to source. You still are of love. How do you feel on Lil Nas X? I said that I think he's a product of being, I think a lot of the artists we see now, like Billie Eilish, Lil Nas X, I believe that they were created. I know they give these backstories like, oh, Billie did all of this in her room with her brother. Do you really believe anything anyone tells you ever anymore? I believe that they've been breeding these artists. So I believe that they are rich families or poor families who end up selling their children to these companies, and then they're bred. Like, there are videos of Billie Eilish doing fucking silks and doing these big performances before she was ever a performer. Like, and that was the first thought I had when I saw her music video. I thought, damn, because she's like doing backbends and shit. I was like, they're really breeding people for this now, aren't they? Like, they're training them since they're little. So I think he's very evil, but I think he's a product of, I think he's a kid that was probably raised in Hollywood. Even though they want to give whatever backstory they give about him, I don't believe any of it. I don't even know it because I really don't like him. His energy really irks me. I think he's very perverted and very evil from the energy I get from him. And I also think he's heavily pushing an agenda, and I also think it's really disturbing how many young people watch him and how sexualized he is. That's another thing. They're trying to make like sexualizing children a normal thing. It's part of the dystopia. But I did say at the beginning of this live that before everything happened with Travis Scott, I was hearing Sicko Mode in my head for a couple days. And now I've been hearing that, like, Call Me By Your Name, which I don't listen to his music at all. I don't listen to the radio. I listen to fucking rock music on the radio. I don't listen to that shit. And I've been hearing Call Me By Your Name in my head. So that was it's funny you asked about him because my prediction was that we might see something fucked up from him next. What help would you suggest for those who take the V and how to help them? I will link, so I really like Elizabeth April. She did a whole course on how to take back your mind, take back control of your reality, and how to transmute the V. It's only $22. I haven't even watched it yet because I haven't needed to, but I have it saved. And in case I have to watch it, and basically it teaches you how to like mind over matter, because a lot of people were reporting that half of the injections that they're giving out are fucking saline. Like, people were like testing them and some of them are saline. So like, what the fuck? It's literally about compliance. It has nothing to do with anything they're saying it has to do with. If you're injecting someone with saline, you're literally just trying to figure out if they consent to you putting something in their body. So like, it's a course on how to train the way you think about the vaccine, or I'm sorry, a course to train the way you think about it, so that it doesn't affect you the same way. This one church condemned this boy to hell because he committed suicide. So Satanists and some religions have that in common. What the fuck? Also, who are you, church leader? Are you God? No. No, you're not my God. Like, how come you just get to say you're going to hell because I read this book and this book said this and I'm right all the time and you're always wrong? It's fucking stupid. So weird that you mentioned Sicko Mode because Travis's song 5% Tint randomly came up in my playlist last week and I don't even listen to him, so tell me why he's suddenly on my shuffle. Oops. I'm a musician, and being one has to come with discernment when it comes to the industry. It's always been corrupt. Exactly. I believe they were bred as well. Yep, that's the conclusion I've come to. the industry plants are farmed to farm us. That's what I talked about in my last video. How I was like, everything you see is just a product of an artist that you think you like is literally just a product of the handler that they sold their work, their body, and their soul to. But I'm probably going to get off, guys. I've been on here for a long time just yelling, so. You don't think I'm evil? Thanks. I hope that other live saved. You're welcome. Okay, thanks for yelling. You're welcome, I'm sorry. I just am passionate. Thanks, guys. I'm literally just standing here staring at the screen. I'm just reading all your messages. Yes, stay safe, everybody. Also, walk in your integrity and do your protection rituals today, because we're talking about shit that they do not want us to talk about. Obviously, that's why the first live got taken down. So hopefully it's saved, because I'd like to watch it back. I want to know what I channeled. I love you too. Alright, guys. I love you. Have a beautiful day. Thanks for listening to me rant, and I hope that this helped you in some way. So, oh, you're so welcome, Teresa. How's your baby? I really wanted to know what you thought about all this, so thank you for giving the live about it. You're welcome. Yes, thank you. I will take care of my inner peace. You all do it too. I love you too, Hannah. All right, bye-bye.